So how do we cut through the bullshit? How do we cut through one guy saying eat tons of meat, another person saying become a vegan, one person saying fast for a week or a month at a
Right,
time?
right, right.
How do we start to cut through that? Because I myself am like, oh my goodness, there's just too much info. I give up. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think you have to take it all in, and it's absolutely essential that you do your own research so
Yeah.
that you're making an informed decision. And that's going to go a long way because we talked a moment ago about the nocebo effect. We really
Mhm.
didn't touch on the placebo effect, but I think people know what that is.
Yep.
So so here's the key. If you think it's good for you, there's a good chance it is. Okay,
Bingo.
because it's the
Yeah.
mindset piece, which we haven't really talked about yet, but it's the mindset piece, and that's why you'll never see me post things like, "Well, if you took the vaccine, this is going to happen to you." I truly believe mindset is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to plant those seeds like the doctor did to my mother.
Hmm.
I'm not going to plant those seeds in anybody's head. You will never see me do that on social media
Yeah. And
because I
that's
know
smart.
how powerful it is.
I think the best thing we could try and do here is just put the information out and then teach people to be more intuitive, to do their own internal sort of muscle testing and kinesiology. What
Yes.
vibes with you, right? You know this about people. You just vibe with them. You want to be around them. That vibe is correlation. That's good for
Yeah.
you. You want to. And then those toxic people that just drain you, right?
Yep.
That you're around, you're like, oh, I feel so terrible afterwards. You don't want to be around that. I think we need to do the same for information, right? And take it in as not good, bad, or anything, as neutral, because it's just information. And then allow our bodies to pick up on, am I really, compatible with this? Is it vibing with me or not? And I feel like that's the best way, because otherwise you will be overwhelmed.
Yes.
And
And
yeah,
I understand that people have very busy lives. They have their jobs and their children and school activities, and people are probably saying, well, how am I supposed to spend time researching? I'm so busy, I practically fall asleep standing up at night. But it's really important. Most people do more research when purchasing a new car than they do when choosing a doctor.
yeah,
And your health is your most important asset. So you have to. There's no excuse, there's no way around it. You have to. You have to do your own research. You can find three or four articles in the same day that one is pro on this and the other one is negative on this. And so it's important for each individual to do that research and then make the decision that they feel is best for them. That'll go a long way.
yeah.
Just believing that you're making the right decision will go a very long way.
Oh, absolutely. And the people that end up usually at our center will come in with binders of research,
Oh,
right? And
really?
and think, oh yeah, sometimes it's like overwhelming for the practitioner to be like, oh my God, you just handed me a 500-page book of your life. I don't have time. But of course, taking it in. But they are very, very aware. They end up with us because they've done enough research, because they've cut through the BS and kind of, had to navigate other areas and find themselves there. And a big part of that, of course, is their mentality as they went through it. And one of the aspects of mentality is kind of to focus on the positive, the cure, not the disease. You wrote one thing, and I want you to explain it that I completely agree with. And I was like, yes, I heard it. It's I oppose the ever-present pink ribbon symbolic of breast cancer awareness. Now, it sounds pretty callous to be like, what, you don't like the pink ribbon? It's like a Seinfeld episode. You're not wearing the ribbon? Why aren't you wearing ribbon, right? But can you talk about why? Because there's a logical reason here. Why do you oppose that?
Sure. And I think that's the first chapter in the book. Well,
It's
it's the
like page
second.
10
Yeah.
I'm looking at. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
So there's this universal law called the law of attraction.
Yep.
And some people get it, some people have no clue. But basically, the law states that whatever you focus on is going to become part of your reality. So the whole ribbon symbol started with the yellow ribbon on the old oak tree.
Mm.
People probably know the song. And that was about bringing home our loved ones. Okay. And so I use the example of breast cancer in the book because it's so prevalent in our society. And so we have this, we wage this war against breast cancer, which is also an incorrect theory that I talk about in that chapter. Um, so if you're going to, and I make the claim in the book that the reason breast cancer is so prolific in our society is it's because of our never-ending focus upon it. So law of attraction brings more of it to us. And I use the quote from Mother Teresa that says, "I will never protest against war. When you march for peace, let me know," because
Love that.
she knew you want your focus on the outcome. And so I surf the web and I see cancer treatment centers. Well, no, don't focus on the cancer, focus on the cure.
Sure.
So all the pink ribbons, they're just every time you see a pink ribbon, what do you think about?
Yeah.
You think
Cancer.
about breast
Yes.
cancer, and what you think about manifests.
Absolutely.
So
That's
so
the
I'm not a ribbon.
affirmations you write, right? And the
Yeah,
visuals, what you put in your head. Like you say, your subconscious won't even tell the difference of the negative. They're just picking up on the word cancer, right?
right,
And almost allowing that to persist in you and grow.
right, right. And so I mention Race for the Cure, Susan G. Coleman's Race for the
Hmm.
Cure. They don't even use the words breast cancer. They
Yeah.
are racing for the cure. See, that's a huge difference when you're talking about the law of attraction. And it's really an important component in the healing process. As a matter of fact, I was thinking today I was watching some of your other podcasts to prepare, and I had to take myself back because it's been a long time now, and trying to remember, okay, how did all of these pieces fall into place? And I clearly remembered one day, I was in the bathroom just brushing my teeth. It was a normal day, another day of being ill, brushing my teeth, and I looked in the mirror and I realized I didn't recognize the
Mm.
person who was looking back. And I also so that led to mirror work, which I'm more than happy to talk about. But
Yeah.
I also realized at that point that I didn't remember what it felt like to be well.
Hmm.
I had been sick for so many years, I didn't remember what it felt like to wake up feeling good, feeling refreshed, feeling strong,
Mm.
feeling happy and healthy. So,
That becomes a new norm, right? Because it's a
yeah,
slow progression. Usually disease isn't this sudden like acute, yes, you wake up one day. Chronically, it takes time. It's a
it
little
does.
pain, maybe it goes away, maybe it comes back, it lingers, it slowly builds up. It
It
turns
does.
into this, it turns into fatigue, it turns into, chronic skin issues or gut issues. And then one day you wake up with this list of symptoms and you realize you've been the frog in the slowly boiling water and now it's truly boiling, but that's your new temperature you used to.
Right.
And so you forgot what it's like in the lukewarm regular water, right? And
Right.
then you have doctors telling you it's just aging, it's genetics, it's
Right.
whatever, right? We got a pill for that. Don't worry, right? And that's the worst part. Instead of saying that's not normal, we say,
Right.
it's part of just, aging, not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. So the naturopathic or the functional medicine doctors have a theory called the bucket theory, which I
Yes.
also talk about in the book. So the
Yeah.
bucket theory um, is about that we all have a bucket and we're born with a certain size bucket, and all of the toxins and our emotional issues and all of the things that we do that are not good for us go into that bucket. And then when that you can hold on to a lot, most people can hold on to quite a bit. But then when that bucket starts to overflow, that's it. You can't have any more. So that's what happened to me. I had experienced an extremely abusive childhood, ended up in an abusive marriage, no surprise, not surprisingly. And then so going through that divorce was like it overfilled my bucket,
Hmm.
and my body could not take any more stress. And so I became chronically ill. And so it took time. That morning I looked in the mirror brushing my teeth and I didn't recognize myself. I hopped up on the bathroom counter and I looked myself deep into my own eyes, and I told myself that I love you. And like all these tears came, and it was so hard to say. And so I knew right then, okay, we've stumbled on something here. Lack of self-esteem, lack of feeling worthy of love and acceptance. And so I knew that there was a lot of work to do. Um, and so that was also a big part of my journey, after I
Yeah.
got off the meds and then started to look within. Um, and so I started doing mirror work. That's what that is called. And I've had clients that flat out refuse to do it because it just scares them. Okay.
Right. How many people
So
actually look in the mirror and actually look and stare and think and talk to themselves, right?
talk to
It's just
yourself.
weird,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
weird. And
Yeah.
and
So I
yeah,
made it a habit, I made it part of my daily routine to do that exercise. And then 10 years later, I'm well, living a happy life. And I read about it in a book that was written 25 years ago. So, so mirror work's been around for a long, long time.
right.
And so what that made me realize, because I said to myself, how could I have possibly have discovered this? If I hadn't read about it or anything, how could it come so naturally to me? And that's when I realized that we know what we need to do to get well.
Yeah.
We just have to be open to it.
That's right. And it's important to note that even within the bucket theory, it's a lot of people like to assign it to, toxins that we're used to, chemicals, PFAS, forever mercury and heavy metals, but it is the emotional toxins as well. It's stressors in life. It's even unseen EMF, other things that can drop into that bucket and overflow it. So as much as people like to say, well, I work out every day and sweat and move and yoga and this and that, if they're not addressing that emotional side, which the mirror work does so well, then they're still putting lots of drops in it and can overflow and start to have symptoms and then disease. And that's why, as much as there are all those influence out there that are doing great stuff and get your steps in, eat well, sleep well, if they miss on the body and the mind and the emotions and the trauma, they're missing a huge portion of what it means to be human and what may lead you to disease.
Exactly.